The Mummy, 2017 film. The Mummy is a 2017 American 3D action-adventure horror film directed by Alex Kurtzman and written by David Koepp, Christopher McQuarrie and Dylan Kussman, with a story by Kurtzman, John Spaihts and Jenny Lumet. It is a soft reboot of the Mummy franchise, and the first installment in the Dark Universe film series. Though Kurtzman said that the film was set in the same continuity as Stephen Sommers' The Mummy trilogy and its spin-offs. The film stars Tom Cruise, Annabelle Wallis, Sofia Boutella, Jake Johnson, Courtney B, Vance and Russell Crowe. The Mummy premiered at the State Theatre in Sydney, Australia on May 22, 2017. And was theatrically released in the United States on June 9, 2017 in 2D, 3D and IMAX 3D. It received negative reviews from critics, and has grossed $174 million worldwide. Plot. In 1127 AD, a group of English Crusader knights capture a gem from ancient Egypt, and bury it with them in death. In present-day London, a construction crew discover the knight's tomb, and a mysterious man is authorized to investigate the uncovered findings within the site. In a flashback, the hieroglyphics on a circular mural tell the story of Princess Amenet is first in line to succeed her father Pharaoh Meneta, only to be stripped of her birthright when his second wife gives birth to a son. Determined to claim the throne for herself, Amenet sells her soul to the god Set, who gives her a special dagger to transfer his spirit into a corporeal form. After murdering her family, Amenet attempts to sacrifice her lover to give Set physical form, but her father's priests slay him and mummify Amenet, sentencing her to be buried alive for eternity with a sarcophagus. In present-day Iraq, soldier of fortune Nick Morton and his partner Chris Vale accidentally discover the tomb of Amenet after staging an airstrike on an insurgent stronghold. Jenny Halsey, an archaeologist and former lover of Nick's, arrives and investigates the tomb, correctly concluding that it is a prison. After extracting Amenet's sarcophagus from a pool of mercury, Nick's superior, Colonel Greenway, places the sarcophagus on a transport plane headed to England. In flight, Vale becomes possessed by Amenet's power due to being bitten by a camel spider while inside the tomb. After attempting to open the sarcophagus, he kills Greenway and attacks the group before Nick shoots him dead. A huge wave of crows then assault the plane, causing it to crash and kill everyone on board except for Jenny, who is parachuted off the plane by Nick. Nick awakens a day later in a morgue in Oxford, and learns from Vale's ghost that he has been cursed by Amenet, who seeks to use him as a replacement vessel for Set. Amenet herself escapes from the sarcophagus, and begins feeding on rescue workers to regenerate her decomposed body. Turning the workers into zombie minions, she lures Nick and Jenny into a trap, forcing the two to fight off the minions as they unsuccessfully try to escape. At the last second, unknown soldiers appear and subdue her. Their leader, Drive, Henry Jekyll, explains that Jenny is an agent of Prodigium, a secret society dedicated to hunting supernatural threats whose base is under the Natural History Museum of London, and contains such objects as the hand of the Gill Man and a vampire's fanged skull. He confirms that Nick was cursed when he unlocked Amenet's tomb, and reveals his intention to complete her ritual, and allow Set to possess Nick in order to destroy Set and end his evil for good. Meanwhile, Amenet takes control of a Prodigium technician and frees herself from captivity, wreaking havoc, death, and destruction in the process. Jekyll succumbs to his own dark impulses, and transforms into Edward Hyde, his murderous and psychotic alternative personality, nearly killing Nick before Nick manages to stop Hyde with the serum Jekyll uses to suppress himself. Nick and Jenny then escape Prodigium, while Arminet steals back the dagger, summons an army of deceased English crusaders to serve her, and creates a massive sandstorm that ravages London. Guided by Ale, Nick and Jenny flee into the subway tunnels under London, but are attacked by Arminet's minions. Arminet captures Jenny and drowns her, hoping to break her hold over Nick. Nick puts up a fight, but gives up and lets himself embrace Arminet, using it as a ruse to steal the dagger and stab himself. His body is possessed by Set, who proceeds to join Arminet to uphold his end of the bargain until he sees Jenny's dead body, at which point Nick regains control and uses Set's powers to suck the life out of Arminet, turning her back into a shriveled mummy. Nick uses Set's powers to resurrect Jenny, saying goodbye before becoming overwhelmed by Set's power and disappearing. Soon, Jenny links up with Dr. Jekyll and they discuss if Nick, now fused with Set, is good or evil, and whose side HES on as Arminet's corpse is lowered into a locked pool of mercury within the Prodigium base for safekeeping. It is also revealed that Nick has resurrected Vale, who questions as to what they will do now, to which Nick responds, "Where's your sense of adventure?" The two ride off in the desert as a sandstorm trails behind them, with Jekyll telling Jenny that as long as a part of Nick's humanity remains, he will continue to search for a way to become human again. Cast: Tom Cruise as Nick Morton, a former U.S. military officer, who unintentionally unearths the tomb of Princess Arminet, unleashing an unspeakable evil. Nick becomes haunted, fused with, and possessed by Set after Arminet puts a curse on him. Annabelle Wallis as Jennifer, Jenny, Julesy, a feisty, kind, stubborn, and intelligent archaeologist who has a past with Nick. She secretly works for the monster-hunting organization known as Prodigium. Sofia Boutella as Princess Arminet. She is loosely based on the ancient Egyptian goddess Amune. Once in line to be the queen of ancient Egypt, Arminet murdered her father and his family in order to resurrect Set, an act for which she was cursed for all eternity and buried alive, until she is accidentally freed. Jake Johnson as Sergeant Chris Vale, Nick's friend and closest ally. Courtney B. Vance as Colonel Greenway, Nick and Chris' superior officer. Russell Crowe as Henry Jekyll, a brilliant scientist who leads Prodigium, an organization dedicated to locating, containing, and when necessary, destroying monsters due to a failed experiment intended to purge his soul of darkness. He must regularly inject himself with a serum to prevent himself from transforming into his monstrous alter ego. Edward Hyde. Javier Botet as Set, the ancient Egyptian god of deserts, storms, darkness, and violence, who aids Princess Arminet in her quest to rule Egypt. Set has a connection with Nick Morton, as the latter is intended to be the human vessel for his resurrection. Marwan Kenzari as Malik Selva, Ras Ailingham as King Mentor, Dylan Smith as Lorenzo Montanari, Rez Kempton as Foreman, Chasti Ballesteros as Kira Lee. Production. Universal Pictures first announced plans for a modern-day reboot of the Mummy franchise in 2012. The project went through multiple directors, with Len Wiseman leaving the project in 2013, and a second director, Andres Muschietti, in 2014. Tom Cruise began talks about playing the lead in November 2015, with Sofia Boutella beginning talks that December. Kurtzman cast Boutella after seeing and being impressed by her largely mute performance in Kingsman: The Secret Service. Kurtzman noted that, "If you look at her eyes, and this is what I got from watching Kingsman, there's a whole performance going on here, and in not saying anything, but conveying that much to me. I thought, oh my god, no matter how much prosthetics we put on her, No matter how much CG we put on her face, if I see this SHES going to convey something very emotional to me. Other casting news was announced between March and May, with Russell Crowe joining during the later month. Filming. Principal photography on the film began on April 3, 2016, in Oxford, United Kingdom, and also took place in Surrey. Filming on the movie wrapped on July 17, 2016, in London. Production then moved to Namibia for 2 weeks, with principal photography on the film being completed on August 13, 2016. Release. Initially scheduled for a 2016 release, the film was released in the United States and Canada on June 9, 2017, with international rollout beginning the same day. The film was screened in various formats, such as 2D, 3D and IMAX 3D. On December 20, 2016, IMAX released a trailer with the wrong audio track attached. This unintentionally prompted the creation of memes and video montages featuring the mistakenly included audio track, which was missing most of the sound effects and instead featured Tom Cruise's grunts and screams. IMAX reacted by taking down the trailer and issuing DMCA takedown notices in an attempt to stop it from spreading. Following the 2017 Manchester Arena bombing on May 22, Universal cancelled the film's UK premiere, which had been scheduled to take place in London on June 1. Box office. The Mummy has grossed $32.2 million in the United States and Canada, and $141.8 million in other territories for a worldwide total of $174 million, against a production budget of $125 million. The film had a worldwide opening of $169.3 million, the biggest global debut of Tom Cruise's career. In North America, the film was released alongside It Comes at Night and Megan Levy, and was originally projected to gross $35–40 million from 4,034 theaters in its opening weekend. However, after making $12 million on its first day, weekend projections were lowered to $30 million. It ended up debuting to $32.2 million, marking the lowest of the Mummy franchise and finishing second at the box office behind Wonder Woman. Deadline.com attributed the film's underperformance to poor critic and audience reactions, as well as blockbuster fatigue. Outside North America, the film opened in 63 overseas territories, with China, the UK, Mexico, Germany, Australia, Brazil, and Russia receiving the film the same day as in North America, and was projected to debut to $125–135 million. It opened on June 6, 2017 in South Korea, and grossed $6.6 million on its first day, the biggest ever debut for both Tom Cruise and Universal in the country. Critical response. The Mummy received negative reviews, with criticism aimed at its incoherent narrative and shoehorned plot points setting up the dark universe. On review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes, the film has an approval rating of 17% based on 184 reviews, with an average rating of 4.3. The site's critical consensus reads, lacking the campy fun of the franchise's most recent entries and failing to deliver many monster movie thrills. The Mummy suggests a speedy unraveling for the dark universe. On Metacritic, the film has a score 34 out of 100, based on 43 critics, indicating generally unfavorable reviews. On CinemaScore, audiences gave the film an average grade of B, on an A+ to F scale. Vince Mancini, of Uproxx gave the film a negative review, writing, "If you like incomprehensible collections of things that vaguely resemble other things you might have enjoyed in the past, The Mummy is the movie for you." IndieWire's David Ehrlich gave the film a D, calling it the worst film of Cruise's career and criticizing its lack of originality, saying, "It's one thing to excavate the iconography of old Hollywood, it's another to exploit it. This isn't filmmaking, it's tomb raiding." Owen Gleiberman of Variety wrote, "The problem at its heart is that the reality of what the movie is, a Tom Cruise vehicle, is at war with the material. The actor, at 54, is still playing that old Cruise trope. The selfish, cocky semi-scoundrel who has to grow up. The trouble is that Cruise, at least in a high-powered potboiler like this one, is so devoted to maintaining his image as a clear and wholesome hero that his flirtation with the dark side is almost entirely theoretical." Writing for Rolling Stone, Peter Travers gave it 1 star out of 4, saying, "How meh is The Mummy? Let me count the ways. For all the huffing and puffing and digital desperation from overworked computers, this reboot lands on screen with a resounding thud." Glenn Kenny of RogerEbert.com gave the film 1.5 stars, writing, "I found something almost admirable about the film's cheek. It's amazingly relentless in its naked borrowing from other, better horror and sci-fi movies that I was able to keep occupied making a checklist of the movies referenced." Entertainment Weekly's Kaisner Shawati wrote that the film feels derivative and unnecessary, and like it was written by committee. Dark Universe. On May 22, 2017, Universal Pictures announced that its series of films reviving the studio's long-running Universal Monsters film series would be known as Dark Universe, and that Bill Comden will direct the second installment, Bride of Frankenstein, to be released on February 14, 2019. In November 2016, Alex Kurtzman stated that the studio has ideas for various rebooted versions of their monsters, and that he helped the studio's production team with creating updated designs for each of the characters. Each of these individual monsters were stated to be the focus of standalone installments first, before any crossovers would occur, with Kurtzman stating, "There might be reasons for this character and that character to come together, because the story tells us that's what the story wants. The story is what drives the choice. And if down the line there's a big reason to bring them together, then great. But I promise, we're not starting there." In March 2017, producer Chris Morgan revealed that the studio is in the process of deciding the chronological order of each of the films, and when they will be released. The 2014 film Dracula Untold, starring Luke Evans as the titular character, was originally considered to be the first film in the Dark Universe. However, since the film's release, the connections to Dark Universe was downplayed, and The Mummy was repositioned as the first film in the series. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe below. Please like and subscribe below.